Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and I wanted to talk about PU01, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that vernacular, PU is Performance Update 01. Now, this is the first iteration of Operation Make Faster Game, or OMFG, which is the hilarious title for making the game faster. Now, a lot of these changes were already on the test server, so you might be familiar with some of them, and I want to just kind of give you some initial notes that I've come across so far. Now, let's start with the positive. And the positive, the game is noticeably faster. Now, when you get in, depending on what your settings are on, I would encourage you to hit Alt-F so you can show your frames per second in the lower left-hand corner. That's going to give you your best idea of how much improvement you've actually got. Now, a couple things to note. If you have smoothing turned on, you're going to be capped at about 60 frames per second. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, why would I want to be capped at 60 frames per second? Well, ultimately, over 60 frames per second doesn't really matter, especially considering most games you play are at 60 frames per second on PC, or normally 30 to 60 on console, depending on what sort of game you're playing. Now, you can go above that. When I unclicked smoothing, I ended up getting closer to 150, 180 frames per second, which is awesome, and obviously a tremendous improvement, and that's even while I was recording. Granted, it was using shadow play, which uses significantly less, data, but I digress. Ultimately, though, performance is significantly better. Now, somebody did say to me that if you choose to use smoothing, and you cap yourself at 60 frames, it frees up your CPU to do some other things. I don't know what sort of impact that has on the game, but play with both and see what actually works better for you. The new user interface is great. Some people like it, some people hate it. Ultimately, it's all about your personal preference. And my personal preference is that I really like it. I think it looks a lot better. It's snazzier. It's a little bit friendlier look to it. The only thing that I don't really care for on the interface so far is the kill board in the upper right-hand corner, namely just because it's a little bit harder to differentiate colors, and you don't get the gun picture, you get the text, so it's hard to see who's killing who around you. Really, really minor overall. Now, with this new update, there's some gameplay changes that you really need to be made aware of if you haven't seen these or heard about them yet. And hands down, the most significant one is the use of squad deploy, or what some people would call like a tactical insertion. No longer are you going to drop into the center of the base or right by your squad leader. What's going to happen now is you're actually going to be forced to spawn at the nearest, hard or predetermined spawn point. Now, what that's going to mean for you is it's either going to be like a spawn beacon if your squad leader has one up. It's going to be a sunderer that's in the area. Or it's going to be back at a different facility, meaning you have to hoof it to get to where you want to be. What this is going to do is it's going to really increase the importance of AMS sunderers. And hopefully people are starting to adjust and we're seeing more of those get out there. Now, if you've got an AMS sunderer, just be aware it's going to be a hot target as we kind of move and people learn this about the game. Now, speaking of drop pods, the deployment of them is a little bit different as well. You fall a lot faster. You can't really move vertically or horizontally as much. So what's really happening is you're going to fall pretty damn close to where your actual beacon is at. Now, that's not a tremendous issue, but if you are not very good at hiding your beacons, or more importantly, your leader's not very good at hiding their beacons, it's going to be very obvious based on where the drop pods are falling as to where your beacon is located. So, make sure you're hiding them well, get them up high so where there's limited threats. Ultimately, though, a well-placed beacon is going to be really important because you can't really land in surrounding areas. Another one that I think is really going to kind of impact gameplay, not tremendously, is going to be that enemy vehicles aren't really going to show how many people are in them anymore. Now, where this really comes into play is Harasser. Maybe it has one person, maybe it has two. You can't really assess the threat. Liberators, it's going to be challenging to tell if it's somebody that's just solo living or if it's somebody that's got a full crew. Which is really going to be important for you guys that are out there, flying ESFs. And lastly, it's going to be really, really tricky with the transport vehicles like Sunderers and Galaxies. Is this just a decoy? Is it somebody just getting from point A to point B? Is this a full Galaxy? Now, all of a sudden, every single vehicle that transports troops has to be treated with a priority, because if it's one person or 12, you don't know. But you need to err on the side of caution and know that it's probably going to be, somewhere in the middle, but you need to know that it could be up to 12, and that makes it a much bigger threat. Now, is that the right thing to do for gameplay? Yes, I think so. You shouldn't be able to tell how many people are in an enemy vehicle unless it's like an open vehicle. But I think it's the right choice, but it does change gameplay. And probably the last change that's really going to impact how you actually play is the Infiltrator's Recon Dart. Previously, when you used your dart, when it detected an enemy, it would let anybody know within 50 meters where that person was located. Now what's going to happen is when you actually shoot your recon dart, all of your allies in a 150 meter radius, so 150 meters left, right, forward, back, are going to know where the enemies are at. So for you guys playing Infiltrator, this is going to be an incredibly important improvement. It's going to allow you to support your team a lot better. Now, on the flip side of things, if you are on the enemy side and they're using a lot of recon darts, you're really going to need to be on your toes all the time, because you're probably going to be showing up on enemy mini-maps, and that's when it's going to be important for you to be working as a team and kind of cover each other from all angles, because there's going to be a lot more people that know where you're located. So those are kind of the gameplay changes. I've only gotten about an hour and a half in so far, and I'll definitely be coming back with some more updates and information. One of the next videos I'm going to do is going to be about the proposed Infiltrator changes, so you can actually see what's coming up with that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for now. So if you want any more information, let me know. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys here pretty soon. Take care.